Hey, it's Chris. Liege Games, baby! Sub counts have been all over the place again. It's another one of those weeks. I saw it everywhere between I think we're at baseline about 4,100 right now, but I saw it all the way peak up at like 86 today too. So, woo, kind of going all over the place. We're getting a little bit of mojo everywhere. This video is going to be jam-packed. I hope you're buckled in and sitting back in your upright position because 17 games on this list. Now, I know how much you guys like it, and I know how much you guys want to hear about it, so we're going to go in depth with the two biggest ones right at the get-go. We're going to go with Too Many Bones Unbreakable, we're going to go Lords of Ragnarok. I'm going to let you know my thoughts, my concerns, my everything from that side of things. So, bear with me at the beginning, but there's a lot of other interesting projects that are launching, and so and hopefully they don't get overshadowed because frankly speaking, this month has already been a cluster. I'm backing like 6 things right now. I don't know. I don't even look right now because I don't even want to know. Now, am I going to keep them all? That's a whole nother thing. But this week is not going to make it any easier because, well, right? Because of the 17 that I'm covering, there are going to be like 2 or 3 or half a dozen other games that launch as well. So, if you missed me screw up the title of the previous video earlier in the week talking about Euro games instead of not the aforementioned worker placement games because Brass isn't a worker placement because I'm adult, I changed it. Also, if you have any recommendations for titles, like I'm just kind of like word blabbing in these titles, like what would catch your interest? You're surfing YouTube, you're surfing Board Game Geek, what would catch your title interest to make you click on this? Because, I mean, you're already here, but if you weren't, for example. So, anyway, bunch of reviews out earlier this week. Vagrant Song. It's coming soon. It's coming soon. However, I also got Mythwind sent in the mail today. So, those are 2, big ones. Big ones. One I have some experience with, and obviously if Mythwind just came in the mail today, that's the one I don't have experience with yet. Anyway, so too much blabbing, too much open rambling. Let me know what you think about those issues. Hopefully you're watching this part and you're not just skipping to the Too Many Bones Unbreakable, but if you did, that's cool too. So, okay, let's do it. Look, this is launching on the 19th. I think this is going to be big. I think this is going to be much bigger because people know that it's sort of the last in the series, that it may be their best chance to get stuff slightly discounted from the retail side of things from Chip Theory Games for the time being. Now, they've said it's the last in this, but I can't imagine that they're going to take this IP and never use it again. I can easily see them doing something else in this same world. The other side of things is that they've actually put out an update, and this is my number one feature of Gamefound that I like, is you can follow before the campaign. You can follow the campaign even if you're not backing. It's massive. I love that. So, what are we getting? We're getting more stuff. We're getting new stuff. We're getting 5 gear locks, 2 of which it sounds like are coming in the core. And we're getting a standalone with Unbreakable, sort of like Undertow, only supposed to be maybe a little bit more accessible because as I've read, as I've dove into things anyway, Unbreakable may be easier than Undertow because I've had comparisons made between Undertow and Too Many Bones, and they say, well, Undertow adds a few mechanics and adds a few nuances that aren't in the base game. And although it does some unique things and adds more variability, it makes it more complicated too. So it might actually be a harder starting point than the core game. And so that's going to be the question is, where do people go in? Now, they've already put out a bunch of stuff. Now, unfortunately, this page has got relatively nothing on it. But that's where the update comes in right here. Because, as I did at the beginning of the month, they said Trove Chest was a negatory. But now, if you see the first update, in case you weren't following already, Trove Chest is a go. But just the Trove Chest storage is $150. So that is the price point of entry if you're looking at something like this. If you're not familiar with Too Many Bones, I mean, that's going to tell you right here what to expect with the rest of it. And they've got all of the pledge levels right here. $1,100. And honestly, I saw in the comment section on Facebook because someone posted the update there. I like the Chip Theory Games guys because they're very interactive with the community and they put out a very positive message. And they flat out said, don't get the $1,100 pledge. We're not advocating for people to get the $1,100 pledge. However, if you are an absolute completionist, this is it. Art, promos, everything under the sun from that side of things. So that's what it's really for. Otherwise, if you're like me, you're looking at something maybe like this, because I may be trading locally for the core game. And so I may be getting something like this. I may be getting something like this. So I'm excited. I'm never going to get something like this. I don't need everything. I'm way more stuff than possible, but I'm looking at it from, you know, maybe the 85 to 220, or maybe even somewhere in between if I already have the core. So make some suggestions in the comment section. Let me know what I should do. But I think this is probably where I would go in and maybe get, like, I don't know, one of the unannounced gear locks, maybe one of these two, Rage of Tyranny or 40 Waves. People can tell me in the comment section, which one would you get and why? Which one is the better one if I was going to have Unbreakable and the core game? So anyway, new art. They've got the new art for both of these expansions. And they're going to be doing more updates. And I wouldn't be surprised if you even see a quick update even before the campaign launches in 4 days from when I'm filming this. Or almost 5, actually. But I wouldn't be surprised either way. What's Unbreakable bringing? And there used to be more information on here, I thought. But Unbreakable is bringing a new mechanic. They're bringing in the lava mechanic. And it's basically to prevent you from turtling in one area. And again, it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see what it looks like. Now, I guess the other thing I don't see mentioned here is those strategist pledge levels. The last campaign they had, I forget what it was. Was it Burn Cycle? Where they accidentally like put like infinite or unlimited or something, and like 600 people got in when there were supposed to be like 10. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't do strategists for a long time because of that. But this is gonna be the tester. I think this is gonna be interesting to see what this does comparatively on Gamefound compared to Kickstarter, because we've seen a couple of the other expansion iterations, Kingdom Rush, that ilk, where they've actually done less with arguably, I will say this at least for Kingdom Rush, a superior product. Which, are people burnt out? Do people need 2 of 1? That's the conversation piece. And that, do people need both, leads me directly, good segue, like I planned it, like I script my stuff. You guys know by now I don't script my stuff, but that leads me to Lords of Ragnarok, which is launching on the 21st. By the way, Too Many Bones is launching on the 19th. I may have mixed over that portion of things. Lords of Hellas, right? You can make the argument that that was Awaken Realms' stamp on the map. To say, hey, we're here, we're doing innovative stuff, we're doing ridiculously cool stuff at the same time, our miniatures are top notch. This is going to be the evolution to show us what they have done, how they have matured, in my opinion. Because it's going to be a test of things. Now, again, it's going to break the bank. It's going to break the bank. I mean, this is probably, if you were to compare head-to-head Gamefound Kickstarter pledges all on one, I mean, you have almost 30,000 people backing it, or following it right now, backing it. You might have 30,000 people backing it at some point. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is top 5 crowdfunding of the year by the end of the year, just by the nature of what you're entailing. Now, I mean, again, Hellas, multiple avenues to win, multiple statues, multiple ways of killing monsters, all of those avenues, asymmetric factions, asymmetric upgrades. The Greek Pantheon versus the North Pantheon. Frankly speaking, the Greek Pantheon is getting relatively a lot of mileage nowadays. And just like Mythic Battles Pantheon, we're seeing on the north side of things, which is, again, very interesting. I mean, we even saw it with Santorini, right? Santorini and then Ragnarok's. I mean, we're kind of evolution, same, you know. Anyway, you know where I'm going with that. So in 6.5 days from the time of me filming this, you know, what is it going to be, like 4 days by the time you guys watch this or so, we're going to see what Awaken Realms has in store for us. And I'm following it. Again, I will say this as a non-area control person, everything they put out is going to be of interest. Now, let's dive into this a little bit. Quackalope already has his video out talking about the main differences, so I'm not going to summarize that too much. Go over and take a look. What they say, quests are gone. There's going to be a wheel in the middle that's going to activate different regions. Monsters are allegedly controllable. Board Game Geek forums are having a big argument on whether or not This is Lords of Hellas 2.0 versus a completely new game. And it's interesting, depending on which thread you go into, one thread says this looks like a reskin, 60 to 80% of the same stuff. The other thread says, or next thread over says, wow, this doesn't look the same at all. Completely different mechanics and completely non-compatible with each other. You can't please everybody. And that's the bottom line with this. I think, my personal opinion, not having looked into it too much, this doesn't look like a reskin to me. It makes me think more of Nemesis versus the Nemesis lockdown, right? That is what I think of when I think of this, where they're going for something where you can have one, you can play similar elements, you can know the gist of it, but the mechanics and the nuances and the complexities are going to be different depending on your style or your preference. That is how I'm viewing this before we get more details. Obviously, they also talk about special runes, leveling up your armies, bonuses, like I said, control of deadly monsters. I mean, the question is, just like with several of the other Awaken Realms projects, can it be reined in enough that they are not their own worst enemy? There's almost, you can make the argument in some of the other games, too much. Too much. Sometimes less is more. And I'm saying that because I think now we've seen a plethora in the past 2 months of the open world games. And this is the area control equivalent where they're like, okay, here's 4 ways to win the area control game. And sometimes you just kind of want 2. Because it just makes more sense. And it's, less overhead complexity. I mean, not that complexity is bad, but complexity for the sake of complexity is not always what I feel like playing. And if you know anything about me recently, what gets played is the stuff that's going to be easier to get to the table. Now, that's not going to say that it has to be simple and straightforward. I was just playing Vagrant Song the other night. I mean, that's not simple and straightforward, but once you know it, it's easy. The learning curve is not as hard as something like this could be. Now, again, the question is going to be, what does it look like? You're talking $115 for the core pledge right now. This is going to be the best value. If you do nothing else, you get this pledge. Because you're going to get this whole stretch box, which is going to be a whole nother expansion. It's going to be a whole nother Nemesis aftermath, essentially, if you want to use that comparison. The aesthetics and the miniatures are going to be amazing. No one's going to argue that. But is it going to hold up? I mean, they're calling this Ragnarok as well. So there has to be a Ragnarok component. And I'm assuming that's one of the multiple win conditions in that sense. But, I mean, you're going to get your money's worth with the base pledge. So if nothing else, the Awaken Realms base pledges are always, without a doubt, worth the value. But they're going to offer probably extra miniatures. They're going to probably have 2 or 3 extra expansions. They're going to have an art book. They're going to have something else aesthetically to upgrade this stuff. Here you can see the action wheel that I mentioned. They've added a lot of stuff to this page since the last time I looked. Looks like you're doing this over 7 rounds. And look at all these areas. It's like Blood Rage, only about twice the size, essentially. Which, honestly, I liked Blood Rage, but it always felt very samey and very small. And so I like a little bit openness, but not open to whatever you want side of things, if that makes sense. We've got a couple videos. Here's the Quackalope video. Here's Board Game Co.'s unboxing. I'm assuming their playthroughs are going to be saved for the actual day of launch. A little bit of the stuff that they're probably going to allow us to choose from or choose between. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm not an area control person. So this is a game that I could see myself very easily passing on. At the same time, it is a game that is going to create waves. And the question is going to be, again, I think one of the other big points I don't see addressed on here anywhere, is it going to be 2-wave shipping or 1-wave shipping? Because a couple of their other games, Tainted Grail and Aetherfields, have really benefited from having 2-wave shipping. Now, hear me out, because I say that because if you were the one who did the 1-wave shipping and got it all at the end, like I did with Aetherfields, they're making some serious upgrades with ether fields to address some of the criticisms that people had in the first place. And the people who didn't have the patience to wait for those upgrades have already flipped it, when it could actually turn the game around. Now, again, you should say that maybe you shouldn't, I mean, the counter argument is maybe you shouldn't have needed to do that in the first place, right? You're, again, going back to my argument of you're doing too much in the first place, and sometimes less is more. But this is going to be the test. This is going to be a test. You know, we saw it with Nemesis, and Nemesis Lockdown is still pending. It's still to be determined, essentially, TBD. A game like this is going to make me excited whether or not it's going to end up in my collection regardless. It's going to generate waves. It's going to generate conversation. It's going to generate bucks. You know, I was trying to rhyme it anyway, you know. So that's what you need to know. That's Awaken Realms. There's videos out. There's going to be tons more. I probably will do a Should You Back once we know more complete information. There you go. That's all I got. It's already blabbing on too much for this, but it's worth it too. Now, again, both of these are in Gamefound. Big Gamefound week. Next up, we have City of the Great Machine, which is relaunching on the 19th as well. Again, one that could really make some waves. I mean, they got $23,000 in the first day or two, and then they canceled because I think some of the criticisms were that, you know, the price point and what you were getting for the price point here. The regular edition, the Master of the City, because, I mean, the Master of the City right here is more, I mean, although, granted, it's Awaken Realms and the mass production and the price point. The core game is 115. Now, this is 135 for everything, but I imagine that is going to be some of the changes. Again, this is what's going to be interesting, and it's a choose your side, essentially, right? It's a rebellion of humans versus robots, a tale as old as time itself. I'm just making, just go with it. Just go with it. It works. It works. And so, I mean, you're using these mechanisms in a steampunk era to go against each other. I mean, and it's a one versus many. And if you just saw my review of Beast was really, really good. Now, the nice thing about Beast was there was low overhead, right? I mean, the turns are relatively straightforward, and you know what you're getting into after, you know, basically 2 rounds. That would be my biggest concern with this, with a 30-some page rulebook, I think that it was the first time. And, I mean, component, aspect. Again, not that it's a bad thing, but it's more to balance, it's more to deal with, it's more to just have to go through. And the asymmetry as well. I mean, this was, it reminds me very much of the Rise of Moloch in that sense. And that game is tough to balance because you really have to go full bore on both sides and can't restrain yourself. Otherwise, games like this are incredibly lopsided. And now, I don't think this is as a slugfest as Rise of Moloch, you know, and this is also modular in the sense that it's not really a dungeon crawl, which is also a really cool aspect. Other than that, I'm not really sure why it really didn't fund better. I think it really was the price for people. Because it's not super miniature heavy, you know, the triple digit price point is restrictive for a lot of people nowadays. And with the price points going up and me mentioning at the beginning of the Kickstarter video, right, that I'm, you know, backing like 6 projects right now. And so I only have so much funds to go around. And so if I'm going to have to choose, well, I'm going to start to be really, really picky, and you're going to have to give me really, really good reasons. So you've got resource management, you've got unique victory conditions. I mean, this is sort of the opposite of Rise of Moloch in that sense. So it's really going to be interesting to see what they do with this, how this is entailed. I mean, I have not read the rules. I will probably read the rules because, like I said, as a fan of one versus many, I'm going to need to. And you can even play it online right now in Tabletopia. So a few stretch goals here, which I'm sure will change. Again, not for lack of videos. I mean, you have a Quackalope. I think you had a couple others too down here from big channels. And so again, it wasn't an issue. John Gets Games, you know, all off the shelf. I mean, all of these guys, you know, good solid content. So I'm not really sure what the changes are going to be exactly. I'm not up to date on some of their other pages, but it should be really interesting. So we'll see when it relaunches on the 19th. Okay, so hopefully I'm going to fly through the rest of these because I spent a ton of time on the ones that really, really piqued me and ones that I really think are going to generate a lot of discussion, but I want to mention all of the other ones too. Tickle Bear games somewhere under the rainbow. If this is not clear, this is unicorn poop. It's rainbow unicorn poop. You're going to be utilizing it, trying to engine build, trying to create the most of it, while also trying to use it as a resource in this game. It says it's sort of a pattern recognition game where you're going to be having to use all of the colors to make a rainbow. Once 4 rainbows are made, then you win. And you're going to be using these pieces also to collect other resources and sort of to pattern recognize as well here, that you can see a little bit of everything going on there. They reached out to me, I reached out to them, and then I was too late. It was my fault completely. I had a chance and I screwed it up. So either way though, I think it looks interesting from a mechanical standpoint, and so I definitely would check it out on the 19th when it launches as well. Next up, we have Dreamweavers. Now, here is the website for Dreamweavers itself. This is also launching on the 19th. It's a 2 to 6 player, sort of not really party-esque game, but sort of a deduction game where you're going to have different subjects that you're going to be using. And you're using a very interesting area control mechanic here to basically make it, like it says, a thematic game of tug of war. Because during your turn, you're going to be either drawing cards, playing cards, or completing objectives, or claiming the dream that you're trying to do. And when you have 8 sun cards, i.e. drawn 8 sun cards, the game ends. And so you're going to be accumulating 2 types of points, the stars and the nightmares, and their final score is going to be the lowest of that type. And so you can try it out online already. The rulebook's there. It looks like an interesting, different take on sort of card play with area control, which again is a weird combination, but hear me out. This could be a very interesting indie game because what you're trying to do is manipulate a subject in terms of their dreams. So again, check this one out. Give this one a shout out. This one looks like it could be a little bit of a sleeper this week, and it's launching on the 19th, so we'll see what it's got. Next up, we have Hamster versus Hippos, which is a 3-round game where you are progressively putting your hamster out on these lily pads, trying to flip over and get flowers. And when any hamster gets eaten, they're out for the round. And then the last one standing, as sort of a press your luck style game, wins and scores those flowers that they've gotten. But, obviously, if you press it too long, well, you're going to lose. So, and we'll kind of see what it looks like. An interesting one I actually have saw more Facebook ads for. I know next a little about it, but it looks like it's a combination of RPG and like D&D with a dungeon crawl aspect of things. This is Legacy of Atmos, also launching on the 19th, the Tellus Crusade. This is actually more of a skirmish game where you are choosing your champion and then building your team around that champion. You're going to be taking special gambits, they call them, special strategies essentially that you can use in combat to try and swing things. And there are going to be 3 central points in which you're going to be battling over a series of 5 rounds, and the person with the most at the end wins. Obviously, it's going to be miniature driven, so the price point is going to be probably much higher than a lot of these other games. And I mean, you can see all the different components. How different is it going to be? What sort of abilities? What is the pull in now to back this, essentially? Skirmish games have been definitely hit or miss on Kickstarter lately, so we'll kind of see when this one launches on the 19th. Now, the next one up is OZAM. I know absolutely nothing about this. There's no picture in here whatsoever, so let's see what they got here. OZAM guards the sun and the moon. The orbs are under attack from the Chaos Screeps. Searching for warriors of talent to win 3 out of 5 battles. Uses 5 different card conflict resolution mechanisms with different win conditions. You win 3 of 5 battles, you win the game as a 2 to 7 player card game. Okay. I don't know. Launching on the 19th, I think. Check it out. Next up, we have Downtown Chase, another racing style game. So what makes this one unique? Also launching on the 19th. This is a very interesting combination of things. It's PvE as well as PvP. And if you're not familiar with those terms, it's player versus environment, which you are trying to end up in the right place at the right time and take this Johnny guy out who's in the red Corvette here. And you have to have the right place, the location card, but you also have the right weapon. And if you have both of those, then you do like a thing on the assassination chart, it says. So it's not very clear, but you're going to be dice rolling, you're going to be card drawing and card playing. And if you end up in the same place, this is where the player versus player side of things, because it's a semi-co-op, although that doesn't really fit semi-co-op, even though it's what's self-described, right? Because it's really, you're trying to assassinate him first, but you can also go head to head. You're not really cooperatively trying to take him out. So it's not really cooperative at all. But this is what it sort of looks like as a demo version. You can see a little bit more of the card stacks that you're going to be drawing from, including locations, the weapons, and all the places on the board. He's going to be moving around. Johnny is controlled by the game itself, and you can see a little bit of the asymmetry in terms of the characters that you're going to be controlling in the first place. If you have any interest in racing, take that style games, check this out on the 19th. Next up on the 19th, we have Viking Raiders. Viking Raiders here on their website. It's coming on the 19th as well. It's a 2 to 5 player card game where you are the chieftain, and you, on your turn, you draw 2 cards to represent what your clan did while you were away chiefing, and then you have 1 action of playing a card and then 1 action of buying, and you're going to be using that to collect resources, get stuff from the market, and attack each other essentially. So you get a little bit of a design influence here, a little bit of background, and then you can see just a little bit of the aesthetic. There's not a whole lot else on Board Game Geek, but it reminds me sort of Forgotten Treasures in the north side of things, if you will, with maybe a little bit more resource collection from the ones that just launched this past week. So, we'll see. There you go. Also launching on the 19th, this is the other Gamefound one, Pachamama. This is the Earth Goddess constantly guiding these Chilean, I think, Andean farmers, and dealing with the distribution of crops. And so this is sort of what you're doing. There is a ton of information on this page, I'll tell you right now. So if you're interested in this, go check this page out instead of listening to me babble, because it'll be more concise and it'll be more precise. But, I mean, they're offering a few Gamefound exclusives right here, extra scenario discs, and you're getting the game early. So however much that depends on you. Here are the stretch goals that they've got, sort of, whatever these discs are. So I'm not really quite sure what that entails, but it looks like you're going to be using those discs, it says here, in the wheel, which is either going to allow you to do a short scenario or a long scenario, depending on how you feel about that. And you have 20 different discs are going to give you 20, different scenarios in the first place. So if you're getting more as stretch goals, that's a relatively good thing. The tiles, the farmers, everything else you need to know, they're at Spiel. There's a rule book on here as well, I believe. And we'll kind of see. I don't get a good sense of the mechanisms, though, here. And so if you really want to know, it looks like they've got Tabletopia as well as Essen if you're there this weekend. Or I thought there was a rule book here the first time. Yep, there's the rule book. Check that out as well if you're interested. And that's Pachamama. There you go. Then we have Valroc. And this is sort of like a wizard training, wizard upgrading, capturing monsters style of game. You are upgrading your wizard, and there's 2 big phases of this game. The first of which is you are bidding on which monster or creature you want to fight, and you're trying to get one that your specific wizard has been tailored to in terms of how you've built them in the first place. But there is some take that, because you're not going to get necessarily the one you want in the first place, and so you need to be able to mitigate that and deal with that, or face the ramifications if you can't. And the second phase is actually fighting them and seeing if you beat them, and that you win by, I think, defeating a certain number of these creatures in the first place. I don't remember what the number is offhand, but again, it looks like something slightly different in a slightly nuanced way that could be really easy to get to the table, depending on how complex or how nuanced it is. This one could be another sleeper hit this week, so keep your eyes out for Valroc when it launches on the 19th. Next up, we have the Hand of Destiny, which is a solo card game that they say that can be played with just in your hand, where you're going to be cycling through the cards based on this RPG-esque setting, trying to upgrade, trying to defeat enemies, and trying to just battle evil all in, the palm of your hand, like I said. Now, the interesting thing is your deck is your health as well, I believe. And so how you manage it and how you utilize it will directly affect what you're able to do with it in the first place. I'd say if you are a solo gamer and you somehow got onto my channel, well, thank you for watching. But I'd say also check this one out, because, again, from a solo side of things, this one could be very intriguing and unlike a lot of other things we've seen. And so I think it should get a lot more exposure. Hopefully it will do well. Hopefully it's priced well. And hopefully we see a little bit more when it launches on the 19th. Then we have Nightbreak. Nightbreak is what they call a medium weight, sort of, not really skirmish game, but battling type game, where you are choosing your champion and you are choosing 3 of them to go head to head over several days. And there is a day phase and a night phase, which you are trying to manage. And they have their own website. They have a little preview trailer here. I won't use that, but you're 2 to 4 players, and you are using the cards with the resources that your goddess blesses you with each turn to do certain actions. And again, it looks like an interesting concept, but the execution is going to be key with this because, again, with these essentially two-player card battlers, right? With a champion versus champion theme, how is that going to work? What is going to make unique? How is it going to, set itself apart from other games out there? I like what I see very briefly so far, but we'll kind of see when it launches on the 19th. Almost forgot about this one, but of course I didn't. It is Circadian's Chaos Order. This is an area control style game from Garphill Games, and they are diving back into Circadians. There's another game by the same name, is a completely different element of things, completely different mechanics, but this is more of an area control style game. Now, there's going to be 6 asymmetric factions, they say, that you're going to be using to control on this board. And there's also going to be these pillars that you're going to be trying to control in the first place. Now, again, just by looking at this picture, there is a lot of stuff going on. You can see I'll blow it up here. Look at all of these resources that I'm assuming, utilizing up here. Different characters, I'm assuming you can hire up in the top. And then you can see just even on the board itself, there's lots of tokens, there's lots of iconography in place, and then you can see the boards themselves that the players have, which are going to have even more iconography and things that I'm assuming you're going to be unlocking. This is a lot of iconography for someone like myself, and you can see even a little bit of the rules here in terms of what is going to be part of it, and there's going to be die rolling as well. So again, there's going to be a ton of stuff with this, and the question is it going to be overwhelming for someone like me? Is Lords of Ragnarok going to be easier for me to get played than this? I have no idea, because these, the difference between this and that is, they're saying 6 asymmetric factions. 6. And so, okay, they're balanced. Okay, do I understand them? Okay, can I play with them? So, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it does, because this is a departure from their other mainstay of, the West Kingdom games. So, I'm interested to see what it comes. And that's launching on the 19th as well. So we'll fit in another couple ones here. Rocket Cats. This one is also launching on the 19th. And if you're like me, if you're old school, if you're of my age, you may remember playing games, not really console games, but PC games called Scorched Earth, or the later iterations, sort of a little bit more evolved, but also slightly different, Worms or Worms Armageddon. They say that this is going to try to be the tabletop version of those games. So take that for what you will. And it looks like already we're going to have a deluxe edition with the 2 covers here. And you can see a little bit of the gameplay elements that they have here in terms of what you're going to be doing. And apparently you're just going to be taking 5 cards and doing like sort of an action programming. You're going to lay them down and just let the chaos reign, is what they say. So this one I could see being another sleeper hit all of a sudden if they've got it right targeted, right priced, and right hype from that side of things. So I'm really interested to see this one, because this is one I could really see myself loving, because I am a big fan of King of Tokyo. Like, that is one of my favorite, don't feel like playing anything light, one of the first intro games to the hobby for me. Really, and I love it. I've got Dark sitting behind me on the shelf here. I've got regular still with power up. I am a big fan, and so if you can replicate that in a slightly different, equally chaotic but fun way, I'm all for it. So that's Rocket Cats. Next up, we actually have Caral, which is also on the 19th. This is going to be a very different game as well. It's using several different mechanisms. It's really a different type of game. It says it's using sort of pick up and deliver, movement, and worker placement. Now, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of information. You can kind of make out the miniatures down here, and there is going to be a deluxe edition. So the question is going to be, what does this look like again? This is going to be through Funtails, and I don't really know what to expect. You're taking on master builders of, I'm assuming, these temples. And it just says you're going to be making these simple moves to make and form more complex mechanisms. That's about all that's on the Board Game Geek page. And this is one, again, I could see going either way in terms of where it lands. It reminds me sort of not as a high, not as a low, sort of like a Tinner's Trail, if you will, from the very beginning of the year, if you remember that worker placement game. But that's going to be sort of the test, because, again, it's going up against a lot of stuff. And we already saw 3 games that underachieved from their own personal, at least, side of things this past week when they launched and have already canceled. So, some of these are going to maybe run into trouble just by the sheer nature of attrition from all the other games. But we'll see when it launches on the 19th. And then last up, we have also on the 19th, MonsDrawsity, The Unusual Suspects from Deepwater Games expansion for MonsDrawsity, where you are a sketch artist essentially, and someone is describing the monster, and then you draw it and see who got the closest. This is in combination, or collaboration, I guess I should say, with Shut Up and Sit Down. And if you like a lighter style party-ish game, yeah, check it out. This is definitely an interesting side of things. I have no interest in it personally. I'm a horrible artist already. I don't need to be reminded of that on game nights, but if you want to check it out, go right ahead. Okay, that's it. That's it. That's all I got. 17. Hopefully it was not too long for you, especially at the end there with the quicker summaries. Hopefully that's okay. Hopefully you like that. Putting a little more emphasis on the ones of more note, especially these more prevalence for me. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about that in the first place. If you like it, if you don't like it, you can tell me. Like I said at the beginning of the video, hopefully next week or within the next week, I'll have a video out for Vagrant Song. Hopefully I'll have a video out for Mythwind. I've got a couple other games. I got Land vs. Sea. I got Canopy. You know, a couple of small things like that. I've got get my Battle Line review, Medieval out still. You know, just a couple games that are just, you know, here and there. If you saw my video from 2 days ago talking about the Euro games, I need to get my Everdell review out finally. And just tons of stuff that I'm just kind of just trying to sort through and put out at some point. So who knows? You know, if you've made it this far and you're not already subscribed, that'd be awesome too. I'd love to hit more than 5,000 legit and not just like spam bots by the end of the year. I don't know what's going on with that, guys. I don't know. I've given up. I don't even look at my subscriber count anymore. It's doing, you know, all of a sudden it just spiked again earlier in the week, and I don't know why. It's the same video, and it's just funny now at this point. What am I doing TV wise? I'm streaming stuff, K-drama, Nordic noir. I think there's supposed to be another really good K-drama, or, you know, that side of things, coming out on Netflix next week. So I'm really intrigued by that. Catching up on some Bob's Burgers, if you will. I need to finish Marvel's What If as well. I just never really got around to finishing it, and from what I'm hearing, it's not as I was hoping, so I've kind of been just slowly dragging my feet along with that. I need to finish Counterpoint at some point on Amazon. That's about it. I'm just kind of surfing around right now. Nothing's really caught my eye this week. Nothing is really that strong. I just finished one of the old series on Netflix from like 2 or 3 years ago. Old series. It's called Case. It's a Belgium one. It's definitely dark. It's definitely touching on very dark subjects, but it's very well done too. It's definitely not for everyone. If you like that sort of thing though, you should check it out. Otherwise, go watch Squid Game again, or actually, if you like Squid Game and you want something better, go watch D.P. The other Korean drama that's about the military and some of the bullying that goes on in the military, and how these guys in the military deal with it, and how they are part of the military that goes after deserters. And so it's really well done. If you're looking for something else to, you know, you liked Squid Game but you want something better, that would be my recommendation just off the top of my head. Otherwise, The Tunnel, Signal, both of those are really good series as well in terms of dramas on Netflix as well, from the K-drama side of things. That's it. Maybe I'll have a video out tomorrow. I don't really know. Depends on what I get done this weekend and what I don't get done. I know I'm still also late on my I'm still late on my September roundup. Who knows if I'll get to it. Maybe I'll just do October and September all, you know, wrapped into one. We'll call it Septober review roundup. Whatever. I don't know. That's all I got though. If you made it this far, great. Thank you for watching. If you didn't make it this far, also great. Thank you for getting anywhere in the video in the first place. And we'll just kind of go from there. So, as always, stay classy. Have a great weekend. I'll see you around.